All right. Shalom, salama, CME, shalom. Oh, man. Greetings, everybody. I'm sorry. Um, I'm trying to get some things figured on out, and StreamYard messed it on up. Look, end of the year. End of the year. Yeah. Uh, that literally summarizes it. I can't even talk about end of the year, and I'm literally going through frustrations right here at the end of the year. And um man, they messed up everything. Give me a second, family. It is just because usually I could drop down and do a little brand switch and get the studio set up. It's not even allowing that. Oh boy. That is really in a nutshell of what is happening or what has happened, especially when you're here in the West, because everything that we have seen happening and going on, especially in this corner of the world, is not the same as what it had been. I think when folks kind of understand and look at this year in particular, it was kind of like the election. Once that election cycle had ended, it seemed to me that the US it just fell, it slipped. And boy, oh boy, did it slip. It I mean, in that slippage, it fell hard. And it's falling fast. That's the crazy thing about this. We're seeing it falling in real time. And we know that it's falling in real time because most of the complaints about this fall is not really happening on our in our on our end. It's happening on mainly for them. We'll go through struggles. We'll go through that. We will do what we have to do to, keep things moving. Ask the Most High to bless us, and then we go from there. And when we're seeing this 5 years later, when we saw that the cookie, the pandemic, all of these things that has happened over the course of these really 60 months, to me, it seems as though This is telling. It's telling because over that course of time, I've had a demand on, look, reparations, justice, fairness, equity, equality. I mean, you name it. All those other good things. And when we stated this, look, because we've been standing up, we've been voicing the concerns, we've been saying, hey, this is what's getting ready to happen. And now it's happening. No, don't come on over here accusing us of anything. We told you what our requirements were. We told you what our demands were. And it just so happens that I always think about Jeremiah 50 and 51 because this was that time we would have healed Babylon, but she refused to be healed. You understand all of the things that this system did was really solely for the benefit of trying to destabilize us, but it ended up destabilizing them. Now, they'll never admit it. They'll never admit why they went after these things. Let's go after the 14th Amendment. Let's bring in mass immigration and then we'll shut it down. Let's do this and then we'll do that. I have to say that this year was very telling because this year exposed not we've been exposed to them. We know. We know how they work, we know how they're sophisticated, we know their practices. We know. We know all that. See, the thing is we know how they work. We understand how they work. We have a legacy of how they work. We understood that as soon as we started to say, hey, are you going to pay us reparations? Are you even going to have the conversation? Remember, they didn't even want to have a conversation anymore. What type of conversation of reparations is anybody having? Remember, they shut that down in California. They shut it down in California. Remember that story? Let's take a look at that. I'm going to share this article. This is from calmatters.org. I have that in the chat. Two historic California reparations bills stall out, sparing Newsom a tough political call. So, what did they do? Well, they gave it to the folks, which is our people. Now, understand when it, even though it may be our people, it's not really our people. It's their people that is in our hue. Let's understand that they're people in our hue, but it's really their puppets. for lack of better words. Their victuals. This was as of August 31st. So this was this year. This is our year, end of the year. The article says years of effort went into making the first state in the nation to get reparations laws to the governor's desk to be signed into law. Yet tonight, in the final hours of this year's legislative session, two key bills to repair harm for African American descendants of enslaved people met their bitter demise. And the article goes on to say that it was the Black Caucus's fault and yada, yada, yada. Because why? Because those are folks that are there to fall on the sword. See, back at that time, the economy hadn't really slid off the cliff yet. At that time, yeah, there were folks, seeing things shaky and seeing things, go on, but it hadn't really hit them yet because now everybody's getting hit. Everybody. Now you're seeing, at this year, when everybody's getting hit, you're realizing that really the game is up. The sham is up. And all of this year, it was stating that you had this going on, you had that going on. And I still don't believe any of the reports of their numbers, their actual numbers. If they say that it's 818,000, I would probably say that it's probably well over a million. But they don't want to have that. It's a psychological effort. Don't break the million because if you break the million, then there is a problem. And when there is a problem, it doesn't look too well. And you could see this here just within the last couple of days. I'll go with this one because this is a little bit more comprehensive. Let me go ahead and blow this up for y'all. From the Legal Beagle, this was as of December 18th. They're writing everything the current administration said are fake deception. Between March 2023 and March 2024, the federal government overestimated the job numbers by 818,000. So almost a lost. This is the biggest downward revision since 2009. And she's saying she's been telling this for the last 13 or 2 years. That's what she stated. And there's a little bit of a chart. I like charts. I like numbers because, listen, when you see the numbers and you see the breakdown, it's a little bit more, to me, more comprehensive. And this is as of January 2023. And I understand April, that is when I had been affected personally, was the April time frame. So there you go. And then from April, you have August. August is usually your back to school type of an effort. So they were trying to do that because then that, that gets you into your Christmas season. You get a plus up for Christmas. So literally December of last year was the only time that is recorded that showed that there was well, besides 7,000 in March, and that 7,000 is usually tax season. You get a little bit more for H&R Block and people on that, seasonal trend. But that's it. And most of these jobs were manufacturing and tech sector jobs. So now at this year, December 18th, folks have realized that over the last couple of days, as folks have been retweeting and tweeting regarding the Biden administration and what's getting ready to happen because with these charts, they always do the little payroll charts, December, and they'll give their little um nice numbers and graphics, nice squiggly lines with some sort of percentages and things of that nature. But this is actually showing job numbers that are declining. These aren't numbers that are going up. It's actually the declines going up. And it's showing a steady rate of decline even up until about September, which is the last quarterly reporting. So by the time that October, November, and December are shown, people don't want to show you that it's through we hit a cliff. They hit the cliff. And more interestingly enough, this is how you have everything going on in Europe. Even Russia and China are subjected to a economic downturn, which everybody's taking an economic downturn. And when I look at those BRIC nations that are quote unquote taking economic downturns, I look at it as that's really an economic ad- adjustment per se, because that is those are the nations that are getting off of the dollar. So when you're getting off of the dollar, it's just not when people say, "Oh, this nation's getting off of the dollar and this and that." Yeah, they're going to stress. Why are they going to stress? Because part of being on the dollar is that you do business within the dollar, and so those businesses are then being done in Western nations that are connected to the Society of Worldwide Interbank Financial Transfers, the SWIFT, and the World Bank and the IMF and the Bank of International BIS. international societies, I believe it's what it is. So there's quite a lot of movement happening because, again, it's painful to get off of the dollar. The dollar was already going to be a painful apparatus, right? Whenever you have to change a power transformer, guess what? You got to shut down the power. You got to shut down the power from the grid. Whenever you change a circuit breaker, guess what? You got to shut down the power. And if you hadn't known last week, the Dow was not very good because there were a lot of changes that had happened within the Dow. And let me kind of illustrate that. This is according to Wall Street Journal. Let me put this in the chat. So, just to give you context here, I want to blow this up so you can get the 52-week average. Let me give you context here. From January 18th to December 4th, there was 37,122.95 to 45,073.63. Okay. These are ranges in not just trillions, but hundreds of trillions. These are ranges in hundreds of trillions. Because why? Because this is an index of or averages of what is in the market and how those markets then become, you know, affected. So I'm going to jump around here. This is the Wall Street Journal. This is as of the 27th, which was Friday. And on Friday, it closed at it opened at 43, and then it closed at 42.92. So 43 142 to 42.92. So that was roughly around 400 points or so, 400 points. I would say 300 that had diminished. The day before, there was a gain from 43. These are injections. When you have these gains like this is capital injection from the Fed, the Federal Reserve, and the Treasury, i.e., there's no more fair market, i.e., if you're a business on out there, and there's a reason I do get skeptical of like businesses and, oh yeah, you could do this and you could do that. Yeah, you can. There's nobody saying you can't. You can, but in the position of this system, um, you will be positioned to have those gains if you are connected to the system, i.e., if you are deemed worthy to, have your funds moved, either by some sort of a BlackRock or other extra governmental entity. So it's not to say that you won't have money. You may have money. And that money may go on, it may be long, but at the end of the day, the money is really evaporating. That's what I wanted to 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 show you, because here's this. From roughly around, let's just call this a 8,000 point gain, okay? Now let's go here. Let's go here, because this right here, this is the delta for me. This is the line for me right here. December 4th. That was the highest closing. Here you go. December 4th, the highest closing at 45,000, just over 45,000, the highest closing. Now let's take a look of what has happened. You've now closed in less than, this is the 4th, the 24th, in less than a month. In less than a month. Well, this was the farthest drop. It dropped down 3,000 points. Roughly 3,000 points, which means that almost 40% of the yearly gains were wiped away. 40% of the yearly gains in less than a month. If you break that down mathematically, since January 18th, which is, and I would say every 3 months, you could say that every quarter, it was gaining around 2,000, right? 2,000 per quarter. That was the average. 2,000 per quarter in less than a month. In less than 30 days. We haven't even closed the month out. And this is still December. December's our rally month. If you didn't know how December's work, December's are the rally month. Those are the end of the years. Those are the sales. Those are all of the things, the specials. Get your car, buy your home, buy something, buy a boat, get a luxury item, get a Rolex, get a Louis Vuitton purse, get whatever you can get as a luxury item. And folks are like, I'm trying to make sure that I can get food on the table. Because understand that when you have these types of closures, and I want to make sure that we're seeing this in the macroeconomic, when you have these types of closings, when you see that the stock market has gone from 45,000 at its highest right here. Let me get to that closure. And now it's struggling to make it out of 42,000. It's not going back to 43,000. It's going to continue to fall and fall. Now, caveat to that, I'm going to say it's not, it is going to. No, it may continue to fall and fall, and it may get strong, because here's the thing. No matter what, remember, the US is a printing machine. It has unlimited paper while it can pay for paper. And now, because it doesn't really have to pay for paper anymore, now it can pay for, digital currency based off of quantum computing efforts. You don't even have to worry about paper anymore. So as long as you have now a system that is quantifying numbers at exponential rates, now capital injections can happen. So yeah, on paper, a company can now be making money, but still be losing employees. Because when you're seeing these major losses like that in the stock market, it does impact employers. And those employers will cut employees. So when you hear the analysts say, "Oh, it's going to be a bloodbath, it's going to be this, it's going to be that," yeah. Let me go here. 2024. This is a post. It says here from a Andrew Lokanath. He puts here, job security is an illusion. Companies with mass layoffs so far in 2024, and he's listing UPS, Nike, eBay, Meta, FedEx, PayPal, Disney, Spotify, Google, Discord, Amazon, Walmart, Citibank, Microsoft, BlackRock. And he gives his analysis. And folks are commenting right there. And he likes to go in with some things, and there's also folks that are seeing the numbers and the data. I just wanted to show you this for 2024. And I'm going to give you this one because this is usually the most telling of all. And I'll put this link here in the description. Yeah, Bowen was a big one. Folks went to the picket line, and guess what? They never left the picket line. They stayed in the picket line because, who's, if, and let's understand this. If you aren't doing business, then folks aren't traveling to do business. So then what happens to airlines? I mean, you literally just have what? Spirit is going out. You have folks, the mergers that they were trying to do that wasn't happening just a few weeks ago with, some other airlines. I mean, here it is. So I dropped this. This is CBS News. This is top news headlines of 2024, month by month. And so in January, this is Boeing. I think this was a precipitous event of Boeing. A Boeing jet made emergency landing after a panel known as a door plug blew out mid-flight. Then that was, they had congressional hearings and everything else. Yeah, you had the Super Bowl and blah blah blah. And then you had the uh the vessel that hit the Baltimore Harbor, Francis Scott Key Bridge. I think that was what was that 95 or 895 that collapsed there in Baltimore. All of my Baltimoreans will let me know that one. You had the eclipse. Oh yeah, you had the eclipse. And imagine we're about 40 weeks from the eclipse. If you didn't know that, we're going to be 40 weeks from the eclipse. I believe that is going to be January 13th. I'm just saying. So you had a solar eclipse in May. Yep. Right. Ibrahim Raizi's uh the Iranian president, former Iranian president, deceased Iranian president, helicopter crashed. And then that spiraled out of control. You had some different things there. June, yeah, you had um, the election in Mexico, and that is the retaliatory advances, I guess, of being able to come out of NAFTA per se, because I believe Mexico did express joining interest in BRICS. So we'll go here. And then July, obviously, the assassination attempt. But so there's some things here. August, I think you had I thought that's when you had the presidential debate, if I wasn't mistaken. They tried to put, the Russian thing, the swap. I think it was a presidential debate, in my opinion, because it just kind of showed you the political drama, political theater that always usually happens. I'm sorry, I wasn't even sharing. My bad. I thought I was sharing this tabs. So that was August. September, you had Hurricane Helene sweep through, damaging really North Carolina. And North Carolina is still damaged up until this day because folks don't want to say that, hey, where's those funds at that went everywhere else? Because again, I told you how America works. They have to pay hush money. And now all of a sudden, the hush money has stopped. And all of a sudden, folks are saying, hey, have you seen this historical document, this historical item? Have you seen this portal being opened up? Have you seen these documents in the catacombs? Oh, yeah. You don't want to pay the money. Guess what? We can't keep your little secret. Don't think that that stuff is altruistic. No, it's a ransom. Pay the ransom note. Pay the hostage note. To what? To keep quiet. Well, we don't have any more money. We can't even pay for our things to get fixed here. And you know what they're telling them? These other nations are saying, not my problem. If you don't, we're gonna let things slip even more out. We're gonna let things come more out. And now the Pope is saying that there's going to be, justice. Oh boy. Wait, a nation built on a system of injustice, and then the Pope is talking about justice? Oh, that's a threat. But see, we wouldn't know that is the threat, because we're just thinking, oh, they're going to do this Jubilee, whatever. And those are direct threats. Yeah, I saw that with Germany. And when I look at that, and I look at different things of that nature, I look, when they say this place is Jerusalem and yada yada, I don't ever, I don't like the, I told you, this is my opinion. And if you want to have a more comprehensive understanding of that, you got to get True Jerusalem by Jacoba Iveo. True Jerusalem by Jacoba Iveo. Because understand, look, do you understand why on the other side of sub-Saharan Africa, let's just put two and two together. On the other side of sub-Saharan Africa, the northern side, not the southern side, the side that they can get to easily, the side where they're, not as restricted in their movements. You can get to that pretty easily. You can dock a boat, you can climb up some mountains, and you can be over to where they say is Jerusalem relatively quickly, within a couple hours range. Matter of fact, you can fly over those places and you can be to those places from Europe within 2 hours by flight. So imagine you can get there in less than 2 days by boat. Imagine that. So when you understand even how Germany is kind of setting things on up, you can understand that, yeah, they're giving you some truth, but they're not going to give you all the truth. Because why? Because they have to portend that those areas, which in my opinion was still honestly southern Greece, southern Rome, southern Greece. That was still the influence. Because anything else, especially when you're crossing a very, very vast desert, and you would be crossing that desert via what? Via water, through the Nile, through the Red Sea, with ports in what? Alexandria, and I think there was like Deshura, what, over towards where the Suez Canal was then later built. And that's why they created that place. They created that place to be close to the Suez Canal, to ensure that they have some lines of communication, logistical communications, so then they can transport materials and people. If you didn't understand, that is the economic model that they don't want to tell people that. So, when I was looking at a lot of those, those stories, it was a Bible story 24H or whatever. And yeah, man, I'm sorry. Look, those AI stories, I get it, but they kind of get on my nerves. It's like fuller word content. this right here, the Germans right here do a lot of analysis and data points and blah 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 and blah 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 and blah, and it's like just spit it on out. What's the intent? And I'm sorry, that's just me. That's my ism. I don't want to hear a 3 4 minute fluff, segmentation. Because why? Because they're trying to play to the algorithm. So if you ever listen to those AI algorithm things, they program that in there, and then it's just like all this fluff, and it's like just get to the, like get to the bottom line. Because if they don't get you to the bottom line quickly, then you're not going to stay on the video, and if you don't stay on the video, you're not going to have the views and the air times, and those are all data and analytical points of how these shows make money. So sorry, I'm giving you the fine points of how you make money as a YouTube content creator. You know, I don't do that. If I really wanted to make money, I would break this on up into segments, and then I would, just release in mass. Yeah, because an hour can get you about 7 8 hours, or excuse me, 7 or 8 episodes. And it'll sound weird. Wait a second, why is all this? Why is all that? What's going on with this? It'll sound weird. Yeah, and a lot of that stuff is very clickbaitishy. I know I saw something, earlier. 41,000 Amazon employees fired. I'm like, wait a second, where is this on at? And then the problem was it wasn't 41,000. It was 14,000. Then there was additional layoffs at 27,000. And then they said it was 41,000. I mean, it was disingenuous. And and that's the whole thing about now. If all this stuff is being disingenuous, then what are they trying to do? They're trying to now have it's warfare on information, because now you don't even know what information is real or not. Even from CBS News, you don't even know if this information is real or not. I'm showing you the source. Now we know that that's new because of all the reporting and people being on the ground, you know, and Hurricane Helene that hit in September. But at this time frame, to me, this is also when you had Harris trying to go up against Trump in that debate, and that was terrible. That was the only, remember, that was the one and only debate. That was it. That was on the backdrop of Hurricane Helene. And then you have Jimmy Carter. They call that a top story. I think the top story, especially in my neck of the woods, is Hurricane Milton. So you see how subjective this is? They say these are your top stories. And remember, and on October, you literally had one of the largest barrages of missile and drone strikes on an Eastern Mediterranean nation in its history. And that was a top news story. You're telling me that was bigger? That wasn't as big as what happened in May? Come on now. With Operation True Promise? Come. And then you subsequently had another one in Operation True Promise 2. Like, and now you have them planning for True Promise 3. Come on. I Even this is disingenuous because understanding this is a programming. Now you see how the programming works. November, Trump won, got it. But November, in my mind, was now you had a lot of things going on the world stage, especially with BRICS and the formation of different BRICS payment systems that was literally an open challenge to the US dollar. They call Trump, okay. December with Syria, yeah, that to me is a big one. But I don't know. I'm just giving you this. Their year in review is a whole lot different. So, people will choose to see things very different. And, hey, that's their prerogative. But you don't want to push negative stories, right? But we'll just do this near review. We'll do this. We'll do. It's uncomfortable to push negative stories. I understand. But I also realize that in this year, they don't want to tell you, right, how bad it had really been for the United States, right? When showing that there was not an ability for the US to have the stronghold, you know, on their bases. How African countries were kicking out Western nations, including US forces from their nations. How the Sahel region was heavily influencing ECOWAS. How other nations were now having a critical eye. How protests in Africa were being set off because they were realizing that they were being lied to and that their wealth was being stolen, especially in Kenya. The protests in Nigeria. And they're understanding the realities. These are harsh realities. And yes, a lot of these things, they're not able to be sugarcoated anymore. I have not been able to see anybody that used to come up, not just on Q2UA, but also on Covenant Awakenings, on Teo, Sister Shonda, you know, Pastor Rick Fletcher. The list goes on and on and on. Oh, yeah, it's going to be great. I think I've actually seen more folks being very concerned about 2025. Oh yeah, no, I saw that. Yeah, Niger is or let me get that on up there. So the funny thing is that this is something that they were talking about. I want to bring this on up here because this is the Atlantic Council. This is ran by them folks. It is very pro them folks, very Western based. Behind Morocco's bid to unlock the Sahel on November 6th, as Morocco marked the 48th anniversary of the Green March, the mass demonstration that in 1975 paved the way for the country to take control of Western Sahara from the Spanish. The nation's King Mohammed VI outlined a new regional outreach effort. He announced the launch of an international initiative to enable the Sahel countries to have access to the Atlantic Ocean. Dun dun dun. Man, those ships are Tarshish. I'm just saying, those ships are Tarshish. Come on now. Landlocked Mali, Niger, Chad, and Burkina Faso are at the center of the Moroccan plan, which involves making Morocco's road, port, and rail infrastructure available to them and implementing large scale development projects. Oh my goodness. Come on now. Do you know why they pulled out of ECOWAS? You know why countries are pulling out of ECOWAS? You want to know why? Ivory Coast and Senegal and all them are reconsidering ECOWAS. Nigeria is about to be on its on literally in its own island. I gave you that. That was literally from back in May, and now they're enabling that. I told y'all, don't give up on them Barbary states. Don't give up on them Berbers. Yeah, they may have issues. But let me tell you this. No matter how much they wanted to run to Europe, they realized that they were stuck, that they were still physically, geographically located on the continent. And don't get it twisted, they still realize that most of the folks that they even have in those areas on the continent, most of their population centers are still very, very dark in their hue. And I would say darker than most of us in their hue. So don't get it twisted because the minor representation, and that's what it is. It's a minor representation. The minority leads the majority. That is it. And if you're realizing that you no longer have a power base because that minority needed Europe to have itself as a power base, well, then guess what? Now they're in trouble. Now there is a problem. When Europe can't help them like that because they're fighting a proxy war in Russia, and they are losing a proxy war in Russia as we speak. This year, we saw the unveiling of what a hypersonic weapon can do and the devastation of a hypersonic weapon. Live on camera. This year, we saw the expansion of BRICS and Egypt's expansion and role, and UAE's expansion and role, and Ethiopia, as well as Algeria and Uganda being involved. So now we have the West in terms of the, I would say, Saharan state of Algeria, a Mediterranean state. And then we have an East African interior nation of Uganda. That's all happening. Come on now, we haven't even talked about the drones. We haven't even talked about the UAPs and the UFOs and all that other good stuff. We haven't even talked about orbs. Because you know what that's trying to get us ready for in 2025. Dun, 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 dun. Da, 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 da. That's right, Team Truth. Believe it or not. We haven't even talked about the wheel within a wheel. They can call it blue beam all they want to. That's what look, that's a wheel within a wheel. Because what are they doing? They're trying to set up what? First contact. Well, we set up first contact with the United States because you know that was it's on top. It's on top of its game, and you can say, and you know that this nation's in decline. But okay, if that's going to be their storyline, and you know that's going to be their storyline, I would really venture to say this. This is just my opinion. I'm venturing to say this that you have a lot of principalities, and the principalities even know what's happening. They understand what's coming. They can't control what's happening because it's the Most High that's doing this. So now they have to basically gather who they can gather. But that is the complexities of this. Let's go through, let's get this initial, shock and awe, and then, oh, well, there's now more. Oh, well, there's now something else. Oh, well, there's now this. There is now. 2024 to me was the year. And you could tell in the year, look, it all started to fall apart for them because, and even now, you won't get the results of the demographics of the election, but even they are saying, and certain, electoral oversight committees and other, think tanks, our participation level had fallen below that threshold. To me, I truly believe that. I truly believe that there is a certain threshold, because there are certain gates. I believe, that's my opinion. There are certain gates towards the end of our captivity, and part of that gate is the gate of the physical adherence to captivity. If we can physically have them, you gotta vote, you gotta vote, you gotta vote. Come on, you gotta vote. And then the reality was the vote by the African Americans, or so called African Americans, did not pave the way. Their majority did not adhere to the rulership. Because you understand what that means. They don't want to show you what that means. They don't want to tell you what that means, because when you are told what that means, guess what? That is an embarrassment. Because what that shows is that the people that have been marginalized the most, the people that have been saying, hey, we need your support, guess what? They didn't come on out. They're not supporting their captivity. See, the last thing that they want to have is the numbers show that we did not support this nation, because what that did was we did not want to continue the covenant of our destruction. It's a covenant. How come they didn't support their destruction? Well, social media and people on social media are bringing out these articles and their facts, and they're getting access to these scholarly journals and academic reports, and they're breaking it on down, and folks are actually, they're listening. See, in order for a nation to thrive off of injustice, you have to have a people be willing to be ignorant of the injustice to accept the injustice. That's, I mean, that's I was going to say Malthusian politics, economics. You could say that, or Keynesian, in a very much more abstract approach. Alan Keynes was a economist back in the 17th and 18th century that was explaining how you would be able to create a very um, dynamic economic force. But the problems that they always had in this, look, they tell you the good parts, but they don't tell you the bad parts. You have an economy thrive if you are doing what? If you're taking from someone else, right? You take from one and then you gain to another. Those are the economic inputs. And they would just say economic inputs, economic inputs. But everything is an economic input. The cheaper the input, right? The cheaper the labor, the cheaper the resources. So you want to have them ultra cheap, right? You want to steal labor, you want to steal resources. Now you don't, just because you have some sort of a nice um, framework around stealing something, it's still theft. And I always have to model that. I model it like this. Wait a second. Let me just, I always give the analytical framework of this. I like to analytically frame it like this. If this was being done to you, and I don't say if this was being done to you, I put it with a little bit more umph and gusto. And I always put it like this. If this was being done to a white person, how would that white person respond? That gives a lot more clarity. That gives it a lot more focus. Because why? Because everybody can then intellectually relate. There's no dogma, there's no, negative stigma, there's nothing on there. Oh, snap. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. If, man, that wouldn't be happening to a white person. Tell a white person. Hey, we're gonna do this to you. Will you be okay with that? They'll let you know what it is. Amazingly, you have justice, you have empathy, you have sympathy, and then you have a sudden loss of apathy. No, I couldn't sit by and watch this. No, I see it'll be a true and engraved injustice. A grave injustice. So then I always say that's the context of the argument right there. Then I always say then why is that acceptable for us? Oh, that's just the way it is. No, it's not the way it is. It's the way that they've conditioned you to be apathetic to what? To your own demise. Vote, because that's just the way it is. Agree, because that's just the way it is. Participate, because that's just the way it is. And I would always provide that argument. And you would understand that when you talk to the Americans of that lighter hue and complexion, it's not just that's just the way it is. Then they will come through and they will provide historical context of that is not just the way it is. The way that it is based off of this. Look, it's amazing how they have foundation and precedence with any type of argument that is in the negative with them. Well, you want to know what? I got to rise up. I got to take up arms. And I got to fight. That is what they say. See, in this year, when I explained to folks that we're getting ready to enter a very dangerous situation, the danger is because we have lost a financial economic war. And now, in them losing the financial and economic war, then is going to be a level of empathy. You know what? I know exactly how you all feel. How did you get through all this? I can't put food on on the family's table. I'm lacking as a man. I'm lacking as a father. I can't be a good husband. I'm this. I'm that. And the last strategy, understand their strategy. Their last strategy. Well, let's work together. Why? I always ask that. Okay, if you're going to ask me, let's work together, then what's going to benefit me and me working with you? Because clearly there had not been a benefit for let's do the calculations over 400 years. Do you all remember when we came off the slave ships and everybody, hey, guess what? You're just an indentured servant just like us. We're going to treat you well. Come on in here. Let's get you into the Hampton Roads area. Let's get you into this. Let's get you, taken care of. You work, and then after you work, you can have land, and then after you have land, you can do the same thing. And guess what? This is do you see this economic model? It's going to be vibrancy. Oh, that was good. Yeah, for 22 years. Then in 1641, well, we need to change the law because there's too many of them that's working and they're outpacing. And guess what? They're digging into these lands. They're getting all the way on out here into these areas. They're making inroads. That model wasn't necessarily the model we wanted or intended. So then what do? They use lawfare. Well, thank you for, making some tremendous inroads and, going through and expanding territory but we're gonna need you to be re-enslaved. Well, I thought this wasn't slavery. I thought it was, an indentured servitude type thing. Yeah, we came over. You kind of gave us that little bit of a title. Yeah, that was. However, when you start to economically succeed, then that economic success is then going to have, money and funds that would then be able to persuade people. And then our people that's coming over from England and Scotland and Ireland and, Western Europe, well, they're going to be at a disadvantage. So whatever you just had, fork it on over to them. Why is that? Because that's law now. No, that never happened. Okay. Look it up. Commonwealth laws 1641. And because that was a colonial statute, guess what? All the other colonies at that time adopted that. And then there were more laws to do what? To limit. And there was more laws to do what? To limit. So all we were doing was we were just providing the legal authority that is what? Internationally recognized. That does what? That continues our captivity. Because what people don't understand is there are extra governmental organizations and bodies that look at that, and then it's, well, there's not really a majority of people that really like this anymore. So I guess your case can move forward. Have you ever noticed if you are in a family, and let's say your family got wrong. Let's say your family, right? They had land, they had wealth, they had resources, they had bank accounts, and it got stolen from them. They put in a lawsuit because certain members of the family wanted to have justice. There are other parts of the family that said, no, if we do that, guess what? Then they'll go after us. So what? So they lose heart and then they lose on out. And then that becomes a generation lost because they've lost heart on trying to recover their stuff that had been stolen. Because why? Because there is a generation that was able to see the veracity of the nature of ill intent through open executions, through folks bringing cases of injustices and those cases either being thrown out or they have that plaintiff going missing and strung up in a family self-deletion. I don't know how they all got on up there, but hey, that's what happens when you bring stuff against us. Bad things happen. Isn't that, that's what they would say. Bad things would happen. And see, the crazy thing is that the rest of the world would turn a blind eye because you want to know why? Because the United States is paying them the money. Let me pay you the hush money. But see, everything is all good until what? Until their economic situation turned to doo doo. Have you noticed that? Their economic situation turned to doo doo. And now here comes the Pope. Let's open up some of these portals. Let's get this, let's get that. Because why? Because, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, I believe that the countdown has begun. We're past the threshold. They're past the point of no return. We're already creeping up on $36 trillion. They're about to have a debt limit debate here in the next couple of days, right at the end of what? Of the Biden administration. What is that going to do? We can't borrow more money because if we borrow more debt, then guess what? We will plummet. Because why? Because there's no jobs. Because why? Because there's no infrastructure and there's no industry that can do what? That can support that level of debt. So then they will have a debt ceiling that they will just be operating in. Well, yeah, whatever. Whatever. Look, who's gonna fight us? They had already projected that the US was going to default by June of next year, June 2025, which means that they'll probably default sooner because there's more obligations, because there's more borrowing. So they'll pile in more debt, but you think that these companies are going to then what? Hire more people? Honestly, absolutely not. What you can say is what these companies will do is they'll take whatever monies that they get from that debt and then they'll move it over to offshore entities and enterprises. Hey, thank you for that stimulus. I thought it was going to go help people. Yeah. Okay. And now these other groups of people, they're beginning to realize it. Year in review. How these other nations here in the United States began to wake up. Look, I told you, and I've been telling you, not just on this channel, but Covenant Awakenings, I've been telling you, whenever they start to feel the squeeze, when they start to feel the pinch, guess what? They're going to start to cry out. And then at the most harshest breaking point, because they're getting what? They're getting literally an arm manipulation tactic. They're getting an arm bar. They're getting a wrist manipulation. And when they cry out in enough pain to tell the truth, oh, they're just going to be running their mouth. That's why I told you. Look, I'm done with telling people, oh, we're Israelites. Yeah, we're Israelites. I'm done with telling people that. They know. They've known since 2023. They've known for years. They know. The Pope is literally broadcasting that. They know. Other countries are saying this. They know. You think that Germany, oh, all of a sudden, yeah, there's in that Middle Eastern area, there's DNA and data points and all this AI nonsense, blah 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 blah. Oh, we're able to ascertain that. Shout out to Gates of Holder on this one. They weren't brachiocephalic, which was European in nature and origin with skulls. Dolichocephalic, which is obsidian, sub-Saharan. Look, they were trying to do everything that they could. Black folks. Oh, so if they're black folks, well, then what's the next identifying marker? Prophecy. Now they're having to put it together. Look, it's not that they don't want to say this. They don't want to say it. Because the moment that they say it and they recognize it, you realize they know what judgment is. The moment that they understand judgment, they know what judgment does when you literally speak the truth. The truth will set you free. Oh yeah, no, Gates Holder, she put that on out there very well with Ashkenaz, with the Scythians. I'm about to watch that again this morning just to get. You got to get notes on that. But here's the thing: it's only going to come to a point. Telling the truth, yes, it's going to hurt people. Yes, because why? Folks have been lied to, and their bubble of truth and comfort is going to come to an end. But here's the thing: do you not see that their bubble of comfort is coming to an end? Do you not see that their bubble of a lie is now imploding? You are rich. You are this. You are that. Okay. You're a rich country. Okay. You're a wealthy country. Okay. You're a prosperous country. Okay. Is that now? You were? Maybe you were. And they went crazy. This is the abstract of this, or the reality of this. And doing everything they can to run away from the truth, they're actually running more and more to their own destruction. You can't make this up. Yeah, shout out to Truth Unedited. Yeah, they're and Gates will hold it. That's right, Sister Diana. They have literally been given the 1-2, the 1-2-1-2. In those training sessions, lots of rib bones have been cracking. Lots of spiritual rib bones have been getting busted open with them combos, them body shots. And I do come with the stance on this. Listen, they've been lied to, but guess how awesome the Most High is? He's giving them an out. He's giving them an out. There's an out in repentance and coming to the truth and accepting the truth. There's an out. and understanding how just as we got an out, they got an out. And we understand even for a large majority of our own people, they don't want to they don't want the out because they go right back into the ancient paths of our ancestors, and then they want to deny Yahusha. Oh, it's only because I'm an Israelite that I this and I'm that and I'm that. It's only because I'm an Israelite. Okay, move the tent. I'm going to tell you this year coming up, it is going to be an exciting year because this year coming up, you're going to see a lot of Gentiles repenting. Because you want to know why? Because here's the funny thing. It's really not funny, but it is kind of funny. Because Europe is going to be telling on them. The Europeans will be telling on themselves. The Europeans will be throwing America under the bus. The Europeans will be saying it wasn't our fault. It was actually their fault. The Europeans will be the ones. Do you see how they started? Don't think that they're not going to continue that trend. Oh, the worse it gets, oh, the more truth is going to be exposed. That to me is what I look forward to in 2025. I'm sorry, I do. I look forward to them. Or I look forward to that. And I look forward to the fact when they say, hey, the charade is up. Man, they got us. They got us with DNA. They got us with geography. They got us with history. They got us with everything because the Most High put down the checkmate. The Most High's checkmating them. They're running out of moves. Can we offer you a special stimulus? Can I offer my African Americans a special stimulus? We have a great country. We have boy oh boy, we've got a great country. Our country's so great. It's great. But you want to know what makes our country even better? What makes our country even better is our participation of our African American friends. That's right. Our African American friends. So just keep in mind we're on Q2UA. So y'all can read inside, you can read through the lines on this one. Oh yeah, no, again, we got woken up relatively mildly calmly. We had a calm awakening, considering all things considered. Their awakening is going to be very violent. And I would argue that it's going to be very violent come next year for them, because what they will do is they're going to fight themselves. I told you. They will fight themselves. Back in 2022, 2023, people didn't believe that. I can't see it happening, brother Karras. I don't believe it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. Look, even Yakoba said that. Alt left versus alt right. Let's just give them their money, or let's just give them something, because if we're able to be fair, maybe we'll be able to save our economy. All of a sudden, we'll be able to save the economy if we're fair, because we hadn't been fair, because we had, look, there's going to be a lot of we hadn't stuff. We hadn't done this, we hadn't done that. We had, look, everybody's going to start to, well, I can't do that. Oh, you're going to have a lot of hardliners. It's going to start looking very, very interesting. See, the end of this year was the end of, really, their stock market, right? Their decadence. And I would say, not really just the decadence, but it's also, to me, personally speaking, just, you had a lie. And we just showed the articles. I know for those that are coming in late, there was the lie. There was the lie of the job reports. There's the lie of how well the economy's doing. Right? The lies, they're going to unravel it. But they'll come through and they'll unravel and they say, hey, listen, we're all Americans here. We all have to stick through this bad time, and we are going to get together and we're going to do better. And the reality is, no, they're not. Because the reality is that this is what's going to end up happening in the United States, or excuse me, in Africa. All these countries, even starting with Niger, or excuse me, Morocco. Just right here. Landlocked Niger, Chad, and Burkina Faso are at the center of the Moroccan plan, which involves making Morocco's road, port, and rail infrastructure available to them and implementing large-scale development projects. They got access to the ocean. They can import and export. Here we go. Even if it is not detailed yet, the Moroccan initiative comes after military regimes came to power by unconstitutional means, or they're just wanna they're gonna bag on them. But here's the biggest one right here. While the sanctions imposed on the three countries are intended to apply pressure on those who seize power by force or defy the Constitution in hopes of restoring democratic systems, those sanctions also impact the populations. So this is the Atlantic Council. You're going to see all the stuff. We got to give them democracy. And amazing how better these countries are doing. This is May. Keep in mind, this is May of this year. So they're getting mad that Morocco. This is a mad article that I gave you on this blog. I'll see if there's better news outlets. Let me do this one. This is a little bit better. Because you don't have, man, I'm telling you, they're dictators and this, they're that, man. I'll tell you, they hate this. You can even, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can read the tone of the article. And I try to give you all the tone of the article because you just understand they hate what they're dealing with. Because that's the construct. Wait, you're getting mad about all the stuff that's happening. I distinctly remember that George Washington served 12 years as president of the United States, and he was the leading general of what? Of the Revolutionary Army. What a sec. Wait a second. And he was about to be extended throughout the lifetime, but he requested that the Constitution limit the powers. That was off of his request. Wait a second. I like to. I have a nose for what does that smell? What am I smelling? Hypocrisy. Yep, that's what I'm smelling. And boy, oh boy, does that hypocrisy smell like a smoked barbecue pork rib. With the extra side of chitlins. I'm just saying. Here we go. I just had this Morocco World News. Le Monde. Morocco emerges as key Western mediator in Sahel. French newspapers reports that Morocco is currently engaged in discussions regarding the potential release. So they're giving them from that effort. Niger's effort. Because why? Because then they're going to try to reinstall their president. Understand how that goes. Let me get these assassination attempts in. Let me get these coups in. Release our boys so then we can coup you. We can assassinate you. Come on. Doha, Morocco has solidified its position as a crucial mediator between Western nations and the military governments of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, as demonstrated by its recent successful negotiation for the release of 4 French DGSC agents, the ones that were actually involved in trying to overthrow these nations. According to Maghreb Arab press, these agents who have been detained in Burkina Faso since December 1st were freed on December 19th following direct intervention by King Mohammed. According to the French newspaper Le Monde, this diplomatic success came at a critical time where France found itself at an impasse in negotiations with Ouagadougou. There's no negotiations. There's actually no negotiations. They're done. See how they try to shape things? Because this is going off of a French article, just translated in English. The newspaper noted that Paris was aware of being in a deadlock to negotiate the release of its agents. No, they were about to put their agents to death. To deletion, excuse me. particularly given the deteriorated relations with Burkina Faso's government under Captain Ibrahim Traore. Well, understand there's an economic success. They don't want to tell you how successful their nations have been, but that's what you're going to get on Google. You may have one particular post here. You're literally looking at all of the negative information. This is called propaganda. This is North African Post. Sahel states have lauded King Mohammed VI's initiative aiming to facilitate their access to the Atlantic Ocean as a highly important strategy for co-development and prosperity in the region, and as a move that will help the Sahel states diversify their sources of access to the Atlantic. This came in a joint communique released following a coordination meeting on the operationalization of the Royal Initiative held in New York on the sidelines of the 79th UN General Assembly. The meeting gathered the foreign ministers of Mali, Abdoulaye Diop, Burkina Faso, Karamoko, Jean-Marie Traore, and Niger Bakari Yahou Sangare, and Chad Abdurrahman Koualamala, and their Moroccan peer Nasser Bourita. The meeting provided an opportunity to convene on the necessary next steps, mainly to leverage the human and financial resources required for the various phases of implementation of the initiative. What does that mean? Simply put, this means that they are going through another alternative source. Okay, they can have a war in Niger and Nigeria. All right, well, guess what? There's a supply element. Miss Talilia said, Brother Karras, it was a black man that put up money to pay the troops, and it was black men that helped to win it. We helped to birth this country. We did. We did. And remember what was the rationale? They offered something. Remember, there's always an offering. Hey, if you do this, then guess what? You'll be free. If you do that, then guess what? You'll be free. If you help out, then guess what? You'll be free. Look, they've said that for years. Same thing in the War of 1812. You'll get a special consideration. You get this, you'll get that. It's all a game, and the game has now caught up with them. If you vote, guess what? We're going to listen to you. We will listen to your concerns. Hey, listen, I'm not telling you what happened, My influence, lack thereof, did not cause millions of African Americans to not vote. It did not. What ended up happening was this. They were the ones that did that. They were the ones that did not want to help on out. And folks could see through the nonsense of both sides. I'm just here vocal about it. I'm just here showing the glaring issues that's happening. If they really wanted to fix it, then they would fix it. But they don't want to fix it. If they really wanted to provide, you know, the context of getting things done, then guess what? Then they would do it. But they didn't want to do it. But now at the very end, they're realizing, you know what? Well, we gave up on black folks. Let's now get these H-1B visas. Let's get them on in here. Why? Flood them in to do what? To get us out. I wonder how that's going to work on out for them. I wonder how that's going to work on out for them when they have to read Second Esdras chapter 15 verses 43 through 46. I wonder how that's going to work out for them when their overseers, daughter Asia, comes through and they become subjected. All they got to do is just come here, live a few years, pay whatever they need to pay on their green card, take their test, and then they're U.S. citizens. That's it. It's not a hard process to become a U.S. citizen. It's not. As long as you do the requirements and you're coming with your own money. That's it. They have already made the pipeline for them. They'll figure it out eventually. Eventually they'll figure it on out that they got sold. It's not you got served, it's you got sold. Help us to get back on top. Oh yeah, we have a strategy for helping America to get on top. America will be back on top. America will be back on top. America will be on top. However, it's not really going to be the America that you think it is. It's going to be an America for all. For all of those that are of this particular persuasion. Oh, you thought you're going back to where you're going to be on top. I'm sorry, but that ship has sailed. No, let me tell you your new boss. Yeah, you see that debt there? That debt was never going to get paid. So you all got sold out to us via bankruptcy. Oh my goodness, let them know. Second Esdras 15 verses 43 to 46. Let them know. That's what they're fearful. That is their fear. That's what they're fearful about. And the saddest thing, I can see that. I see that happening. We actually see it happening in real time, and they can't even understand that it's happening. That wasn't supposed to happen to us. that wasn't supposed to be the case. A lot of wasn't supposed to now it's the reality. Please help us to come back to normal. Again, I'd like to always say and stress, what does normal mean? What is their idea of normal? What is their normal? Because we're nowhere near the new normal for them. And that new normal for them is not the normal that they are thinking about. So yeah, family, that's where we're at in this. It's going to be a different situation on out here. It's a different situation. But I'm going to tell you this, I am actually relatively excited for 2025. It's going to be a rough first couple of weeks. But honestly, I think once we start to see how this is shaping up, it's really going to be a blessing. It to me it is. It will truly be a blessing. And honestly, with that, that's the I can't wait factor. Because I think the most high of what he has brought us through over the last couple of months and the doors that he has opened. There are doors being opened each and every day. There are opportunities going on each and every day. And the reality of it is that we have to keep moving. We have to keep going. So with that said, family, look, for this last broadcast of 2024, I'm going to tell you 2025 is going to be excellent. It is going to be excellent. I'm not allowed to share with you all the details, but let me tell you, I do get excited for what the Most High is working and how the Most High is moving in the background. I get very excited. But this is our time to understand how we have been called to be leaders in this. This is the time right now. Don't think that you're just going to be in the background. That's what they want you to be. When you realize that we've actually been called for something greater. This is the time to get involved. This is the time to get active. Because without going into details, family, we're here. We're at this time where the doors are getting ready to be flung open. Don't think about the challenges that are ahead of you. We all have them. I do. So thank you, family. Keep me in prayer. I appreciate it. Because let me tell you this, family, the only thing that we have to do is just keep this thing moving. That's it. That's it. So these are the teachable moments to help our people to succeed. These are those times. This is that day. This is that hour. Hallelujah. So with that said, family, I do have to run up out of here to get some things done today. Thank you, family, for your support for Q2UA Quest to Unite Africa. This is really the last hours that you can give for this 2024 tax deduction 501c3 critical infrastructure and economic development through leadership and training and guidance. See, in order for us to be available for what's coming, we have to be able to understand how to navigate those relationships on the continent. And this is our opportunity right now. This is our time right now. So I would say, family, let's take advantage of the time that the Most High is giving us. So with that said, family, tomorrow I'll do like a little bit of a New Year's Eve special on Covenant Awakenings. So I'll see you all then. With that said, we'll be back on very first show of the year for our Q2A discussions. And I'm going to say this, family, please be on the lookout for yourselves and one another, because I truly do believe that they're going to try and start this thing off for 2025 with a literal bang. So please be aware of your surroundings and please walk everything on out, being covered under the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach. So with that said, family, most High willing, I'll see you back on Q2A, this channel, on Friday. And please, again, please support the mission of Q2UA. You could find that in the link at quest2nightafrica.org, quest2nightafrica.org. So with that, family, shalom and salama. You have a blessed and awesome day. Hallelujah.